foldable plastic device, and you just set the temperature and then put everything inside. So I use that, yeah. On the proofer, so the Broden Taylor proofer, the temperature delta between what you put on the control versus what's actually in there is a little bit off. So you have to kind of experiment. I usually set it to 74. So, and I'm shooting for like 76, 78. So if you set it to 74, then it's about the right temp. Okay, so we've divided the dough. And after I divide the dough, I usually let it sit out for like 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the strength of the dough. So this dough, unfortunately, is cold from the fridge, so I can see it's still really tight and it hasn't relaxed out. What you want to see after you divide it is you want to wait to shape the dough until it has spread out a little bit. If the dough spreads out super fast and you get like this, almost like a pancake, you know, you're kind of in trouble there, because now the dough is under strengthened and is spread out too quick, too fast. And so what you can do in that case, and it happens, believe me, it happens to everybody, is I would pre-shape it again. So just take your bench knife and take the round, give it some more strength by pre-shaping it, and then give it another 30 minutes to rest. If your dough is like this dough and it's not spreading out and it's still super tight, give it more time, give it another 15 minutes, come back. What you want to see is, you want to see it relax. It's hard to describe, but you want to see it maybe relax by like 50%, let's say. So it kind of, it's in a tight ball, and it, not 50%, sorry, it kind of like doubles in size. So it's relaxed out and kind of taken up more footprint on your work surface. The reason is because if dough is too tight and you try to shape it, then you're going to be forcing the dough. We might see that here in a minute when I shape these, but you know, you're going to be forcing it and you might tear it. At this point, you really want to preserve what's in the dough, and you want to be kind of delicate with it at this point. So I mentioned that I don't usually cover, or that I always cover the dough. This is the one step where I don't cover it. I leave it uncovered because I actually like the fact that it dries a little bit. It makes shaping a little bit easier. We're no longer going to use water. We're switching over to flour now at this point. If you were to use water, you would end up just getting your baskets wet. So at this point, we've kind of switching over to dry. Leaving it exposed to air is good. It makes it a little bit easier. And for shaping, there's infinite ways to shape your dough. You can really do whatever it is you want to do. I mean, you can do a round, you can do, I like using these kind of oval baskets, so I'll shape the dough into an oval form. I almost always use these. Thank you. Or, you know, you can use a round basket and you can shape it into a round kind of boule shape, as they call it. It's whatever you prefer. I personally love just the way this shape has always just spoken to me, if you will. So I've always kind of wanted to go in this shape. I also find that if you shape into an oval, the interior is usually a little bit more open and kind of airy. It's just the nature of how you're shaping. There's less motions to get it into the shape. But I also like, you know, practically and pragmatically in the kitchen, I like slices like this versus a huge cross section when you're making a sandwich. Like, I think this is the perfect bread. Okay, so let me show you shaping. So my approach, I think we're kind of running low on time. So my approach to shaping is as few motions as possible to ensure that the dough holds its shape until bake time. So what I like to do is, you know, just you take some flour and you can dust your work surface. Now in a bakery like Don, he's probably throwing flour like Wild West, just throwing it everywhere. At home, you don't want flour on the floor, right? You don't want flour on the floor. So I'm pretty light. Like I don't spread it like I would if I was in a bakery. So I just kind of do, you know, light dusting, put it on my hands, and then I use my bench scraper. This is going to be an interesting shaping session because the dough's quite tight, but just scoop it up, and I just kind of plop it over. So you'll notice when I scrape it, when I pick it up, the dough kind of compresses. It's very intentional the way that I've moved it over here. So I don't have the dough straight like this. I have it turned so that it's kind of like a long rectangle in front of me. That's because my shaping technique is to fold the sides in and then just kind of roll it up. So I have it longer than it is, deeper, let's say. So for shaping, I have my dusted hands and I'll just fold one side over, and then I do the same thing for the other side. Again, this dough is a little bit too cold still. So now I have a long rectangle, so I've kind of transformed it to a long rectangle. And you can roll it up away from you, kind of like rolling up a carpet or something, if that's more convenient or easier for you. I like to roll it down, so I just pick the top part up and I kind of make the first crease here, and that sets the stage and the shape for the rest. And then I roll it down and use my thumbs to kind of tuck in. And so at the end, you just end up with a long cylinder like this. And these baskets, I usually dust in some white flour in here. It can just be plain wheat white flour. It doesn't have to be rice flour or any kind of other flour. You can even use whole wheat, whatever flour you want in the basket. That just helps the dough kind of remove when you go to bake. And then I just take my bench scraper, scrape it up, and then I flip it into the basket. And so you end up with dough that's right in the middle. I usually pinch the ends closed. You don't have to, you can leave them open. This kind of gives the loaf a little bit more of a rounded shape. If you left it open, it would be a little bit more blunt when you bake it. Both ways are cool. And here I've got 14-inch baskets, which are pretty long. So these are actually meant for, I think like 1,200 grams, so a lot more dough. But the reason I use these longer baskets is because when the dough's proofing, it's gonna relax. It's gonna spread out, and you're gonna get, you can see the difference here, right? There's quite a bit. So it relaxes out, it allows the dough to spread out, and you get a longer, more narrow loaf. If you have a smaller basket, like an 11-inch, that works totally fine too. You can use that. That's that one. I'll do one more. Okay. So usually my dough would be much more relaxed out, a lot more spreading here, and I would be doing a lot more kind of folding. But since it's so tight, I have to use even less motions here to shape. So now that we have the dough shaped, so for proofing, what we do is I usually cover the dough. So I use a reusable plastic bag, cover the dough. You can let it proof out at room temp if you want, just on the counter, like 2, maybe 3 hours, depending on the temperature in your kitchen. Or you can do what I usually do is I'll put the dough into the fridge. And then once it's in the fridge, I can go about my day, clean up, do the rest of the stuff that I gotta do for that day, worry about the dough later, and then in the morning, I'll actually do the baking. Doing a cold retard, as they call it, like a cold proof, it allows fermentation to continue for a short period until the dough cools down to fridge temps, which is really cold for fermentation. That allows a lot of flavor to build up, and you'll see. I always like to tell bakers to do a test, like bake one that day, and then bake one the next day and taste the difference. You'll see the crust will be different. The flavor will be, if you wait a day, the flavor will be a little bit more sour, a little bit more complex. But I also like same day proofed bread. The crust is usually thinner. You get more like grain flavor come through instead of that sourness that kind of builds up. So it's a mix of those things. Okay, we don't have too much time. Let me show maybe a scoring. So let's pretend that it's tomorrow. So in the morning, I'll put one of the Dutch ovens in the oven, and I'll preheat it to 450. Since those are super thick steel, cast iron, it usually takes about an hour to preheat, but you could probably get away with like 30 to 45 minutes. I take the dough out from the fridge. And so this is pretty much how it would be. I'd have it in one of these reusable bags that I use. And this is a good visual here for you guys. So you can see, so the same dough in the morning, you can see, right, the difference in how much it's filled the basket and how tight this one is from shaping. So this is good. This is what you want to see. You want to see a dough that's super soft when you poke it. Like, bakers use this thing called the poke test when you poke the dough, and it gives you kind of a visual and a tactile sense for how much fermentation is built up in the dough. And you want to see the dough kind of just spring back slowly and not fully fill back in. And at that point it's ready to go. Coming out of the fridge in the morning, it's a little different. The signs are a little different, but because you're using the fridge and it's got a long time in there, you'll almost always be at the right point in the morning when you take it out. So, all right, so I just wanted to show you scoring real quick. So what I usually do is I use a pizza peel because getting it into a Dutch oven, you can use any Dutch oven, by the way. If you have a Le Creuset or a Staub or any of those, you can use those. It just has to be a sealed pot to trap steam when you're baking. What I do is I use a pizza peel with a piece of parchment paper. This will make it easy to slide in. I'll take the basket of dough and I just tip it out like that. And then I take, for an oval loaf, I usually use, this is called a baker's lame. It's just literally a razor blade on the end. I use a curved blade, which helps give it kind of it gives it this ear that kind of forms up when you cut under the dough and it peels back. If you're doing a round, like a round loaf, I usually use just a straight blade and cut right in, and it kind of forms different. You can use scissors, you can use a knife, anything to cut the dough, which allows it to open in the oven. If you just put this in the oven like it is right now, it would rupture at some point because you've got rise happening in the high heat. So for these kind of loaves, again, usually I'm higher, but you just grab your blade and you have to be kind of confident with it and just go. You can go slow if you want, but I find it's easier if you just go fast because then you don't get any snagging. And so just cut in like this. That's it. And then you can look at your dough, like is it opening? Like you can see here, I cut in deep enough because you can kind of see the fermentation activity. If it is stuck, just cut again gently. You're not going to hurt anything at this point. And then what I would do is I take one of the sides off, and then I'll just take the parchment paper and drag it and drop it in the pot. That way you don't have to worry about burning your hand. And then I cover the pot, put it in the oven, 20 minutes, take the lid off, then lets the steam out, and then bake for another 30 minutes or so. Wow. I've got the racing.
Thank you, Maurizio, for sharing your knowledge with open hands. You just got an